So I just felt a desire to record my thoughts about the visit to Asbury Seminary and University this last Monday, and some of my thoughts about what we saw in this amazing movement. Most people are calling it revival, and I have as well. It's interesting to me that the organizers, if you could call it that, nobody's organized it, but those that are stewarding it are not calling it a revival. They said we really won't know until after the fact whether it really was a revival or not. They're they're being very cautious about what kind of label they put on it. The one that they're using the most often is an outpouring, and it is certainly that. So last week, I began, like many people, to just be fascinated with what was going on there and watching videos, reading articles about it, trying to understand. It didn't take me very long at all to believe that it was an authentic thing. No man could have done what has happened at Asbury, and I'm not going to go into the details about it. Most of you that are watching this probably know, but it started on February 8th in a devotion time, and students began to worship, and it just continued on and on and on and got bigger and bigger, and social media put it out there, and it's just been a phenomenon. And it's really captured not only the local media, and not even the national media. Now it's gone over the world. I was just watching a video from a pastor in Israel that came over, was already in the United States, and he came Sunday to see for himself. So we've been praying about going. It's only about a little over 3 hours from here, and but yet we wanted to know the will of God. And after a lot of prayer, we felt like that Monday was the day, so we went, and a group of us, about 5 of us, went over, and we got there about 11 local time on Monday morning, and just you knew that the presence of God was there. It was just a beautiful thing to see. One of the wonderful things that happened in our circumstance and our experience was that when we got there, we didn't know where we would end up going or what we'd do. We were just asking God for leadership, that we would end up in the right place. And the first person that we saw in the parking lot was from Wilmore, the town that it's from, and we had a conversation with him, and he says, there's a big long line to go into Q's auditorium, and he said, you don't want to get in that line because you're going to be there for hours and hours, and you probably won't even get in. But he said there's a chapel across the street, Estes Chapel, that is, it's a wonderful place, and the experience is going to be the same there. They have a live stream. So that's where we went, and we spent most of the day there, and it was wonderful. In fact, when we got there, it was probably a third full, perhaps, and the meeting wasn't supposed to start for about 3 hours. So that was pretty interesting. But we were able to get in there, get a seat fairly close to the front. We were able to get access to bathrooms and sit down and not be standing for a long time. So we were really thankful for that. After we'd been there for a little while, and I realized that there was a lot of time between then and the meeting, and I just wanted to go out and experience what was going out in the common area. So asked Pastor Mike to hold my seat, and I went over there, and I've put some videos out of what I found. There were some young people that were just breaking out in spontaneous worship. It was just so beautiful and authentic. I don't know how to describe it. You'll have to watch them. I just put one up on YouTube a few minutes ago of them singing Waymaker. But I was there for a while, watching and taking it in and making some videos. And then I went back into the auditorium at Estes Chapel and just to tell our guys, hey, you guys, wanted them to take a turn and see what was going on. So they did, and the chapel itself was very quiet. People were very respectful. And I might make just a general note of what we saw during the day. People were loving to one another, kind to one another. I don't recall even seeing a piece of trash on the ground. People were very careful, and it was a beautiful thing to see. I've been to other events and things, and I was at some of the Promise Keepers events back in the 90s, and at least in that respect, I saw that same sort of thing and that caring to be careful of where they were. So anyway, so the meeting was billed to start at 2 o'clock, and actually they started the live stream about 1 as people were filing into queues. So we actually got to see and experience more than the people that were in the line, because it took them a long time to get in there. It was entirely led by young people. As far as the worship, they had groups of young people who were leading worship. Very simple. You may have seen this yourself. Piano, a guitar, a beatbox occasionally, but it was very simple worship. There were no names up on the screen. We didn't know who these young people were. It was truly a nameless thing that was happening. There was just a spirit of sweetness there. That's the best way I can describe it. There was nothing flashy anywhere, not on what was going on at Hughes, not what was going on where we were. And I sensed people that were hungry for God, where I was, and in the auditorium, and out in the lawn area as well. So I would take time to worship with everyone, and then there would be times that I just wanted to soak it in, and I wanted to just listen and watch and looking at people's reactions. In our church and in our I guess group of churches that we're affiliated with, we have a great freedom of worship that not very many people have. And I was seeing people experience something that we've experienced ourselves, that where there's not a formula, or there's not a program or anything. It was just God being there and visiting them. And that was honestly just fun to see that and watch that. And one of the things that I just want to make a note of is that I've seen somebody on social media say something about that it being mainly a group of white people, which I just think that was kind of a silly thing. But I wanted to just make the point that what I saw was anything from that. It was a beautiful kaleidoscope of colors and cultures coming together. I mean, there was nothing like that. There was I saw Asian people. I saw people from India. I saw African American people, many of them. In fact, I felt like on Sunday night that probably us white dudes were probably outnumbered, and I was glad of that. You know, that type of thing didn't even come into anybody's thinking. We were enjoying one another. I felt like this is what heaven should be like. You know, there was no black churches and white church. It was just the church being the church. So that's one of the things that I wanted to mention as well. So the afternoon service was mostly worship, and we're talking from about 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock, mostly worship. There were times of breakout times where that they would have different young people would read from the Word. Sometimes it was a verse, sometimes it was several verses. And there was a great reverence for the Word. Some people may be saying that it's not Bible-based. Well, it certainly was. There were no sermons that afternoon that I heard. Now, I was stepped out for a little while, so there could have been something there. Then there was a testimony time when they actually shut down the live stream, and the people in Estes, they made a time for us to have testimony. And there were some beautiful testimonies. One lady gave a testimony about a dream that she'd had back in January, and she saw a river of people praising God and honoring God and loving God. And she believed that what she saw was a foretaste of what was going to happen. I may be doing great violence to her dream, but that's the best I can remember.